What happens when one of the world's most recognizable charitable organizations suddenly finds itself surrounded by difficult financial questions? And what happens when the public begins asking where millions of dollars were spent, not because they already know the answers, but because they want transparency? For years, the Invictus Games have stood as a symbol of resilience, sacrifice, and hope for wounded veterans from around the world. The competition has inspired millions and earned global respect for shining a spotlight on those who serve their countries. But now, the conversation has shifted. Recent discussions surrounding financial reporting, organizational oversight, and public accountability have sparked renewed interest in how charitable funds are managed. Social media is flooded with debates. Critics are demanding greater transparency. Supporters argue that conclusions should not be drawn before all the facts are known. At the center of the discussion once again is Meghan Markle. Some headlines claim pressure is mounting behind the scenes. Others suggest that increasing public scrutiny could have long-term consequences for the royal couple's public image. Yet despite the growing speculation, many important questions remain unanswered. So, what exactly is happening? What has actually been reported? What is confirmed? What is speculation? And why has this story captured so much attention across the world? Today, we're breaking down every major development, separating facts from rumors, and examining why this controversy has become one of the most talked about royal stories of the year. Stay with us, because the deeper this story goes, the more complicated it becomes. To understand why this latest controversy has attracted so much attention, it's important to look back at the story of the Invictus Games themselves. The Invictus Games were created to celebrate something much bigger than medals or competition. They were designed to help wounded, injured, and sick service members rebuild confidence through sport while showing the world that recovery is possible. Since the first Games, thousands of veterans from different countries have participated, and millions of people have watched their inspiring stories unfold. For many supporters, Invictus has never simply been a sporting event. It has become a symbol of courage, resilience, and respect for military families. Every athlete represents years of sacrifice, determination, and recovery. That emotional connection is exactly why any discussion involving the organization receives intense public attention. When Prince Harry became closely associated with the Invictus Games, many people viewed the project as one of his greatest achievements. Even critics of the royal family often acknowledged that the Games created a meaningful platform for veterans whose stories deserved worldwide recognition. After Harry and Meghan stepped away from official royal duties, however, public perception began to change. Every appearance, speech, interview, documentary, and public event involving the couple started generating headlines. Supporters continued praising their charitable work, while critics questioned whether media attention surrounding the couple sometimes overshadowed the veterans themselves. This debate became even stronger during recent Invictus events. Some viewers felt that coverage focused heavily on Harry and Meghan rather than the athletes. Others disagreed, arguing that the couple's global profile naturally attracts media attention, which ultimately benefits the Games by increasing public awareness. Neither side fully convinced the other. Instead, the conversation continued growing online. As public interest increased, so did expectations for transparency. Large charitable organizations are routinely expected to publish financial reports, governance information, and details about how funds are allocated. These reports help donors, sponsors, and the public understand how resources are being managed. Whenever questions arise about finances, whether involving a charity, nonprofit, corporation, or public institution, people often seek clear explanations before reaching conclusions. That is where the current debate has intensified. Across social media, YouTube, and various news outlets, numerous claims have circulated regarding financial reporting connected to the Invictus Games. Some posts suggest serious concerns, while others argue that many online claims exaggerate or misinterpret publicly available information. The result has been widespread confusion. Some headlines present allegations as though they are already proven. Others emphasize that reviews, audits, or financial reporting processes do not automatically indicate wrongdoing. This distinction matters. An audit, financial review, or request for clarification is not, by itself, evidence of misconduct. Organizations undergo audits for many routine reasons, including compliance, governance, and financial accountability. Because of this, many observers are urging caution. Rather than assuming guilt or innocence, they argue that the public should rely on verified information instead of viral speculation. Meanwhile, commentators continue debating what this increased scrutiny could mean for Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and the long-term reputation of the Invictus Games. Supporters insist the organization's mission remains unchanged and that veterans should remain the primary focus. Critics, however, believe greater transparency would help strengthen public confidence and reduce speculation. Whatever the outcome, one thing is already clear. The conversation is no longer limited to royal watchers. It now includes veterans, charity experts, donors, journalists, and millions of viewers worldwide who care deeply about accountability, transparency, and protecting the reputation of an organization built to honor those who have served. And as the scrutiny grows, the biggest questions may still be ahead. This is where the story took an unexpected turn. Instead of focusing solely on the mission of supporting wounded veterans, much of the public conversation shifted towards speculation about finances and organizational oversight. Across YouTube, social media, and opinion blogs, countless claims began circulating. Some commentators argued that the organization should provide more detailed explanations to reassure the public. Others cautioned that many of the most dramatic online claims were unverified and should not be treated as established facts. That distinction became the first major twist in the story. The louder the headlines became, the harder it was for many viewers to separate confirmed information from internet speculation. Some viral videos framed routine financial discussions as proof of a scandal. Others pointed out that charities and nonprofit organizations often undergo reviews, publish financial statements, or update governance practices without any finding of misconduct. In other words, the existence of questions does not, by itself, prove that anything improper occurred. Even so, perception matters. When an organization associated with a globally recognized public figure comes under intense scrutiny, every new headline can shape public opinion, regardless of whether it introduces new evidence. For Prince Harry, this presents a unique challenge. The Invictus Games have long been viewed as one of the projects most closely tied to his public identity. Because of that association, increased attention on the organization inevitably leads to increased attention on him and, by extension, Meghan Markle. Critics argue that greater transparency can strengthen public confidence. Supporters counter that the organization's work with veterans should remain the central focus and that speculation should not overshadow the achievements of the athletes themselves. As media coverage continued, another issue emerged: the speed at which narratives spread online. Short clips, headlines, and social media posts often traveled much faster than detailed explanations or official documents. This created an environment where incomplete information could quickly become the basis for widespread assumptions. That became the real conflict, not simply whether questions existed, but how those questions were being interpreted. Some observers called for patience until more information could be reviewed. Others insisted that organizations receiving public support should communicate proactively whenever concerns arise, even if no wrongdoing has been found. The result was a growing divide in public opinion. One side viewed the controversy as evidence that stronger communication and transparency are essential for maintaining trust. The other warned against treating speculation as fact before all relevant information is available. Regardless of which perspective people supported, one reality was undeniable. The conversation had expanded far beyond a single headline. It had become a broader discussion about accountability, public perception, and the responsibilities that come with leading high-profile charitable initiatives. And as attention continued to build, many wondered whether future statements, financial disclosures, or organizational updates would help answer the public's questions, or simply fuel another wave of debate. Because in today's media landscape, sometimes the biggest challenge isn't uncovering the truth. It's ensuring that the truth can be distinguished from the noise. When many observers expected the discussion to settle down, the opposite happened. Instead of fading from the headlines, the debate grew even louder. New opinion pieces, reaction videos, and social media posts continued to appear, each offering a different interpretation of the situation. Some commentators argued that the organization should address public concerns more directly to reinforce confidence. Others stressed that ongoing speculation should not be mistaken for evidence of wrongdoing. This marked the second major twist. The story was no longer only about financial questions. It had become a story about public confidence. For any globally recognized charity, reputation is critical. Donors want reassurance that their contributions support the intended mission. Corporate sponsors value stability and trust. Veterans and their families want the focus to remain on recovery, resilience, and the opportunities the organization provides. When uncertainty dominates the conversation, even without confirmed misconduct, it can influence public perception. Observers also noted another challenge: the close association between the Invictus Games and Prince Harry's public image. Although the Games are supported by many people and organizations, Harry has long been seen as one of its most visible champions. Because of that connection, media coverage frequently extends beyond the organization itself to include discussion of Harry and Meghan Markle. Supporters argued that the couple's international profile has helped bring global attention to the Games and to the achievements of wounded service members. Critics, however, questioned whether media attention surrounding the couple sometimes overshadowed the athletes whose stories the event is meant to highlight. This debate had surfaced before, but the renewed scrutiny gave it fresh momentum. At the same time, analysts pointed out that public trust often depends not only on how organizations manage their finances, but also on how they communicate. Clear reporting, timely responses, and accessible information can help reduce confusion and discourage misinformation from spreading. Meanwhile, online discussions continued to grow more polarized. Some creators presented the controversy as proof that major revelations were imminent. Others urged viewers to wait for verified information before reaching conclusions. As these competing narratives spread, it became increasingly difficult for audiences to distinguish between established facts, informed opinion, and speculation. The controversy also highlighted a broader issue affecting many high-profile organizations today. In the age of instant news and viral content, perception can change rapidly. A single headline or short video can reach millions of people before official statements or detailed explanations are widely read. That dynamic places additional pressure on public figures and charities alike to communicate clearly and respond effectively when questions arise. Whether the current scrutiny ultimately changes public opinion remains to be seen. What is already evident, however, is that the conversation has expanded beyond one organization or one couple. It has become part of a larger discussion about transparency, accountability, and how charitable institutions maintain public trust in an era of non-stop online commentary. As the debate continues, many people are waiting to see whether future updates, official disclosures, or additional reporting will provide greater clarity. Until then, the strongest conclusions remain the ones supported by verified information rather than assumptions. And with public attention still firmly fixed on the story, the next development, whatever it may be, is likely to receive just as much scrutiny as the last. As the discussion continued, one thing became impossible to ignore: the public wasn't reacting with one voice. Instead, the story exposed a growing divide in how people viewed both the Invictus Games and the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. On one side were supporters who believed the organization's mission should remain the focus. They argued that thousands of wounded veterans have benefited from the Games over the years and that those achievements should not be overshadowed by online speculation. In their view, the athletes, their families, and the volunteers deserve the spotlight more than the headlines surrounding public figures. On the other side were critics calling for greater transparency. Their position was that any major charitable organization should be prepared to answer reasonable questions about governance, reporting, and the use of funds. For them, asking questions was not an attack on the mission, it was part of maintaining public trust. This difference in perspective fueled even more debate across social media. Reaction videos accumulated millions of views. Comment sections filled with conflicting opinions. Some users defended Harry and Meghan, arguing that they were being unfairly targeted because of their high public profile. Others believed the level of scrutiny was inevitable for globally recognized figures connected to a prominent charity. Journalists and nonprofit experts also emphasized an important point. Charities often face increased public attention simply because transparency is essential to maintaining donor confidence. Reviews, reporting processes, or governance discussions are not unusual, and by themselves they do not establish misconduct. What matters is how organizations communicate and respond over time. For many veterans and supporters of the Games, however, the emotional impact went beyond media narratives. Some expressed concern that ongoing controversy could distract from the athletes' achievements and discourage future attention from sponsors or donors. Others hoped the debate would ultimately strengthen confidence by encouraging even clearer communication and accountability. Meanwhile, Prince Harry's long-standing connection to the Invictus Games meant that every headline about the organization inevitably reflected on his public reputation. Because Meghan Markle is also closely associated with many public appearances linked to the Games, commentary frequently extended to both of them, even when the discussion centered on the organization itself. Public perception, however, is rarely shaped by facts alone. It is also influenced by emotion, timing, and the way stories are presented. Dramatic headlines can spread rapidly, while nuanced explanations often receive far less attention. That imbalance is one reason why controversies involving well-known public figures can become so polarized. As weeks passed, the central question remained the same. How can a respected charitable organization preserve public confidence while ensuring that its mission and the veterans it serves remain at the heart of the conversation? Whatever the eventual outcome, many observers agreed on one point. The men and women who compete in the Invictus Games should not be forgotten amid the public debate. Their resilience and achievements are the reason the organization exists. The controversy may continue to generate headlines, but the lasting legacy of the Invictus Games will ultimately depend on its ability to maintain trust, communicate transparently, and keep its focus on those it was created to support. And with public interest showing no sign of fading, many will be watching closely to see how the story develops from here. As this story continues to unfold, one important reality stands above all the headlines. Public trust is difficult to earn and even harder to maintain. Whether discussing a charity, a nonprofit organization, a corporation, or a public institution, transparency has become one of the defining expectations of modern audiences. People increasingly want clear information, timely communication, and confidence that organizations are operating in line with their stated mission. That is why conversations like this attract so much attention. At the same time, it is equally important to distinguish between verified facts and speculation. Public debate, online commentary, or viral headlines can raise questions, but they do not, on their own, establish that wrongdoing has occurred. Responsible reporting requires waiting for confirmed information before drawing firm conclusions. For Prince Harry, the Invictus Games remain one of the most significant initiatives associated with his public life. Over the years, The event has become a symbol of resilience and recovery for wounded service members from around the world. That legacy has inspired countless participants and supporters. For Meghan Markle, the continued spotlight means that virtually every appearance connected to the Games generates renewed public discussion. Admirers view her participation as support for an important cause, while critics often scrutinize her role more closely because of the couple's global profile. Those differing perspectives are unlikely to disappear anytime soon. What happens next will depend not only on future reporting, but also on how the organization continues to communicate with supporters, donors, participants, and the wider public. Clear explanations, accessible financial reporting, and continued focus on the athletes can help reinforce confidence over time. There is also a broader lesson in this story. In today's digital world, information moves faster than ever before. A dramatic headline can travel across the globe within minutes, while detailed context and careful analysis often take much longer to reach audiences. That makes it increasingly important for viewers to evaluate sources critically and avoid assuming that every viral claim reflects established fact. Whatever position people take on Harry and Meghan, the central mission of the Invictus Games remains larger than any single public figure. The athletes, their families, and the values of resilience and service deserve to remain at the forefront of the conversation. As new reports, official statements, or organizational updates emerge, they may answer some of the questions currently being debated, or they may prompt entirely new ones. Until then, the most responsible approach is to separate confirmed information from speculation and allow verified evidence to guide conclusions. One thing, however, is certain. The discussion surrounding the Invictus Games, public accountability, and the role of high-profile ambassadors is far from over. As long as public interest remains high, every new development is likely to be examined closely by supporters, critics, journalists, and viewers around the world. So the biggest question isn't simply what happened. It's whether future developments will bring greater clarity, or whether the debate will continue to grow. Only time and verified information will provide the answer. If you found this breakdown informative, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest updates on the royal family, public figures, and the biggest stories making headlines around the world. We want to hear your opinion. Do you think high-profile charities should provide even greater transparency to maintain public confidence? Or do you believe online speculation often gets ahead of the facts? Share your thoughts in the comments below, but please keep the discussion respectful and focused on verified information. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to share it with friends who follow royal news and current affairs. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.